the story goes that the madman was being transported. He was being taken to an asylum or something. He was like an insane guy. This is back when they used the term madman.
And insane.
Yes, that
for that matter.
He was in the back of a wagon and he was chained down. And
standard practice. All right.
So again, yes, this is not current practice.
No, we're going to use the medicinal chains. It'll be okay.
Yeah. The madman was chained in the back of the wagon, and they must have been going through forests and fields and shit like this. They're on a dirt road or something like that. And suddenly he freed himself from his chains, and he jumped down from the wagon and jumped into a lake that was next to the road and started swimming as far as he could. Maybe he was trying to get to the other side of the lake.
Right.
And, you can imagine freedom over there or something like that, or whatever madman thoughts he had. He just went in that direction. But halfway across the lake, he fainted. And his guards went out to collect him, and they dragged him out, and everyone thought he was dead.
They thought he was dead. That sounds ominous.
Yeah, for a period. They thought the dude is
probably
dead.
It's been a few weeks.
I don't know how long. But the thing is, he quickly recovered his spirits. And in fact, not only did he recover his spirits, he was, and this is the term that was used in the original version of this story, he was abruptly restored to the natural order. And from that day on, he lived a long time without experiencing any further attack of madness.
No. I'm going to say this. So drowning therapy was born. Fantastic. Fantastic. Fucking hell.
Close, but no cigar. Close. Now, look, of course, I don't know if that actually happened, or which details are true and which are not true.
Are we going to go with therapeutic waterboarding?
But it doesn't really matter because the 17th century Brussels doctor and scientist, he was a legitimate scientist, Jan Baptist van Helmont, he certainly believed it was true. He was like, okay, something happened here and I want to go all the way. And so for the rest of his career, the story is that he began a long side career. He's doing legit science as well, a side career of plunging the insane indiscriminately into sea or fresh water. And here's a quote from him. The only care, he stressed, is that sufferers must be plunged into the water suddenly and unawares, and to keep them there for a long time.
Oh.
One need have no fear for their lives.
Basically, you'd probably good that you chain them up, you take them somewhere where they don't know they're near the water, and then you don't wake them up before you just drop them in. Leave them chained and drop them in. That would certainly have an impact.
It would have an impact. See, this is an origin story that it goes in a quite unexpected direction because, yes, you have guessed there is hydrotherapy, water torture. But actually, this is the origin story of something that's far more domestic, far more visible in our day-to-day lives. This is something that you probably used this morning, you might use tonight, and in fact, something most of the world uses at least once or twice nearly every single day, and maybe even up to 15 times a day.
15.
And in fact, it's one of my favorite places to be. This is the origin story of the shower. And I got a few little places we're going to go in this episode. You know, as you guessed, times when they used showers as a torture device. When showers went mainstream, which country showers the most? How often you should shower? And which American president had a special shower made with nozzles to blast him hard, straight in the dick, balls, and butt?
Clinton.
Welcome to The Wholesome Show.
The podcast that stands blissfully under the torrential shower from the whole of science.
I'm Will Grant.
I'm Remote Rod Lamberts.
I'm going to kick things off. I'm going to go a little bit earlier than Van Helmont and his madman friend. The story that I want to cover is the modern shower. And that came about weirdly following his discovery. But of course, there's absolutely evidence of ancient people in a variety of places around the world using something that's a bit similar to a modern shower. Like there's
Is it an elephant?
standing under an elephant.
I've seen the Flintstones. Isn't that how it works?
Sure, I don't know if that's evidence, though.
Line up your mammoth.
I don't think that's evidence.
It's very well drawn.
No, but like there's ancient Egyptians. They had servants pouring urns of water over them, which I guess is a bit like a shower.
Yeah, I don't think emptying a bucket, I wouldn't quite call that a shower.
No, me too. Well, the ancient Greeks may have had something a little bit even closer to a shower. So they had like pipes would be installed high up and water would fall to the user, which that to me is a lot like a shower.
Archimedes douche.
The Archimedes douche. There is a douche coming up. Key thing is sometime between the ancient Greeks and Van Helmont, and Van Helmont's like in the beginning of the 17th century, attitudes seem to have changed. It could have been that people just got shittier at plumbing. They just lost the technology. I don't know. It could have been changes in taste, like they got wussier about cold water or they stopped caring about being clean. It also could have been pseudoscience.
Imagine.
Yeah, I know. Catherine Aschenberg, she's argued in her book, Clean, An Unsanitized History of Washing, that medical authorities of the medieval period all the way up until the 16th and 17th centuries, they had this argument that blocked pores sealed the body off from infection. So if you stayed nice and dirty, then you couldn't get infected.
But this is the classic oldie position. Like, if you're feeling unwell and you're coughing and so forth, you got to shut all the windows and doors and seal yourself in as well. So why not do it at the body level? Because of that evil, was it miasma, evil air?
Yeah, well, that was definitely a theory. It could have, maybe it's a sort of, I don't know, like a fortress idea. Like you can block everything off.
You can see the logic, but it's gross.
Doctors were testing this. Doctors, scientists, people were testing this theory that if you block off the pores, that was a good thing or a bad thing. Anyway, so this is the only line I got from this, and I couldn't find it. Yeah. Experiments on horses covered with glue had seen the poor animals die, and while this was probably more due to overheating, it convinced doctors of the need for cleanliness.
Oh, the other obvious evidence that it's important that you don't seal the pores is, of course, from that 1960s James Bond movie. I think it was 60s, Goldfinger.
Yeah, you cover someone in gold, they die.
Yeah, you cover them in paint, gold paint, but any paint. And that was the theory is, unless you leave a small hole at the base of the spine, you skin suffocate.
Small hole at the base of the spine.
Yeah, that's literally what they said. So there's, they come into the room, some poor woman he'd recently taken advantage of is lying there covered in gold paint, and she skin suffocated, which I think is probably horseshit. It
probably comes from that sort of period saying that your skin was porous and that your skin breathed. I think it was an emerging thing at that sort of time, but I got no more details on that. There you go. No. There's a good bit of pseudoscience to check out. Anyway, for Van Helmont, the idea was there. Maybe a plunge in water could fix a whole bunch of things. And so
morals at least.
He didn't call it hydrotherapy, I don't think, but others started embracing this idea of hydrotherapy at this sort of time. I'm going to read a few of them, and I just love. So one of the advocates was John Wesley. He's the founder of the Methodist Church in.
So was he a Wesleyan then?
He was a Wesleyan, founder of the Methodist Church. He was famous for saying he invented cleanliness is godliness.
Next to godliness.
Next to godliness. Yeah, that's true. Not godliness.
Yeah, it's not pure. Like if you have a shower, you're not God. Jesus, dude.
But he was a big fan of cleanliness.
God? Yeah. Oh, and washing.
But he thought cold water was like manna from heaven. It'd fix everything. So from his book, awesome 1744 book title, Primitive Physic, or An Easy and Natural Method of Curing Most Diseases, which is quite short for that time.
Very short.
To the point.
I find it lacks credibility being that short. Like if you don't give me half the book in the title, I think you're hiding something.
So for asthma, take a pint of cold water every morning, washing the head in cold water immediately after, and using the cold bath.
Okay.
For rickets in children, dip them in cold water every morning.
That's it? Rickets gone.
I kind of imagine this as a scruff of the neck sort of thing. Like it's like dip your children in cold water.
I don't want it. Good
Thanks,
morning.
Dad.
It's never
I wasn't awake yet.
I like rickets more than this.
Oh, believe me, as a parent of teenager, I feel like the dip in cold water, that'd get things started. Maybe.
Or stopped if you want to, if you worry about immoral behaviours.
Yeah, there you go. To prevent apoplexy, use a cold bath and drink only cold water.
Or cause it.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, sure.
If you're really feeling, a bit high strung and someone dunked you in cold water, I can imagine being apoplectic could be quite a reasonable response.
For ague, which seems to be like malaria or other shivering diseases, cold bath. Just before you get cold, you have a cold bath, and that stops you getting cold. Here's where he gets wild: blindness, leprosy, or hysterics colic. Cold bath. For cancer in the breast.
Blindness. I mean, this isn't hard to test. I'm blind. Have a cold bath. How do you feel now? Blind.
And
I don't know what went wrong. I followed the recipe exactly, and I'm still blind.
Cancer in the breast.
Cancer of the breast, yeah.
Use a cold bath. This has cured many. This has cured Mrs. Bates of Leicestershire of a cancer in her breast, a consumption, a sciatica, and rheumatism, which she had nearly 20 years.
Did it also cure Master Bates? Cold water's good for all the things that ail you.
But he'd say once you've had the cold bath cure, then you've got to drink a lot of cold water. Like you just got to keep on the cold water track.
Right.
By the beginning of the 19th century, these sorts of ideas they're a little bit out of fashion. So doctors from like the beginning of the 1800s, they're like, this is exceedingly reprehensible to a well-informed physician of the present day. But it wasn't the water. It wasn't the water. They were like, no, the water is cool. Water is cool. But plunging, that's just ridiculous. Like that is primitive. That is not precise. We are precise people now. We need to, instead of just, chucking people in a lake or plunging them in a cold bath, we have to target a little more precisely what's going on.
I really like the way this is heading. Like I'm very excited. I feel like I may have had a recent experience that might be relevant.
So you've got people who love the water cure. Yep. And then you've got people who are like, all right, we need to be a bit more targeted. And so you get at the same sort of time the emergence of this theory that any sort of mania or madness or insanity, that they're emerging the idea that it's in the head. Like that actually is a revelation, to be mad that it's something in the head. And they thought one of the causes of a mania was violent heat that boiled the blood and dried out the brain. And I don't have the details on who did this, but there are a bunch of doctors in this sort of period who did autopsies, looked at the brains and said, look, that's inflamed. That's an inflamed brain. That's why they're mad. Or the other way around, the madness made their brain inflamed. But anyway, they said...
I had a housemate back when I started my PhD, and he was over from America, and he was dating this Vietnamese woman who was also doing a master's degree. And she was very worried about a dog one of my other housemates had who'd get too excited at loud noises and stuff. And she said, this is just like at home. The problem is when it gets really hot, the dog's brains boil and they eat their owners. And she was convinced this is what would happen to dogs. It gets too hot, their dogs' brains would boil and they would eat their owners. And she said this quite vociferously, with great passion.
Look, I know that there is data out there that shows various forms of violence go up in hot weather.
Sure, because you just get shitty. Yeah. Shitty and sticky.
Oh, no, totally. So, look, you could see someone worked up, one of these madmen. You could see that they're worked up. Their brain looks all hot. So, okay, so here comes the obvious solution. We don't got to dunk people in the whole water. Instead, what we need to do is get a little bit targeted, straight to the head.
Yeah.
One of the first was a guy called Patrick Blair, a doctor, a terrible human, like literally, I'll tell you, terrible. He wrote a letter to his friend Dr. Baynard in 1718 containing some considerable improvements concerning the use of cold bathing. Anyway, Dr. Blair reckons he cured a man who was raving mad by binding him in a cart, stripped him of his clothes and blindfolded him. That's so that the surprise might be greater. And he, on a sudden, had a great fall of water let down on him, which is weird. I'm not sure the agency of that sentence, but they poured a great bucket of water on him from 20 feet, under which he continued so as long as his strength would permit. So this is coming from not just a bucket, but like it's a continued stream from a water tank or something like that.
20 feet high raging torrent until his legs gave out?
Until his strength, as long as his strength would permit.
I assume it was cold as well.
Of course it's cold. They can't heat water back then.
No, that's true. They don't even know what heat is. So this poor bastard is standing there until he cannot take it at all anymore, full stop.
But After his return home, he fell into his sleep and slept 29 hours and awakened in as quiet a state of mind as ever.
Yeah, shock will do that to you.
Yeah, well, maybe. But I don't know. As so had continued to the time of writing of the letter, which was 12 months ago.
Yeah.
A hot brain being the cause, perhaps, of several disorders in the understanding, as in great part found to be true, in the ridiculous behaviour of some drunken men, which, when their heads have become cool, abhor what they do or say. So he's saying, pour a bucket of water on these people and it turns them proper.
Hence the phrase, cool down, mate.
One day he decided to cure a woman who had become mad and neglected her family. And I think reading between the lines, that means she didn't want to sleep with her husband.
I was going to exactly say that. So not wanting to bang, therefore she's crazy.
I think that's what it is. He went further. Last time it was, how high was it? 20 feet. This time he rigged up a bathtub under a 30-foot high water tower.
Cool.
A married woman became mad, neglected everything, would not own her family nor any husband nor any of the family. I ordered her to be blindfolded. She was lifted up by force, placed in and fixed to the chair in the bathing tub. All this put her in an unexpressible terror, especially when the water was let down. I kept her under the fall for 30 minutes, stopping the pipe now and then and inquiring whether she would take to her husband. But she still obstinately denied, till at last, being much fatigued with the pressure of the water, she promised she would do what I desired.
So I'm going to torture you till you say you'll bang your husband.
Yeah.
Sorry, cure you.
A week after, another trial, but adding a smaller pipe.
Oh, high pressure.
When the one let the water fall on top of her head, the other squirted it in her face or any other part of her head, neck, or breast, I thought proper. So this is just basically torture. Like he's pretending this is a cure. This is just torture.
And then we added version 3 where they put small bits of gravel in the fast pipe to really, really make sure she was exfoliated to nearly death.
Being still very strong, I gave her 60 minutes this time, when she still kept so obstinate that she would not promise to take her husband until her spirits being almost dissipated. She promised to love him as before. I gave her the third trial of the fall and continued her 90 minutes. Now, I got to tell you how much water in a second. I threatened her with a fourth, took her out of bed, had her stripped, blindfolded and ready to put in the chair. When she, being terrified with what she was to undergo, she kneeled submissively that I would spare her and she would become a loving, obedient and dutiful wife forever thereafter.
So the operative word in that whole treatment schedule is threatened.
Yeah. Like what a fucking turd of a human, like what a monster. Like it's just torture.
I'm going to torture you until you bang your husband again. It's nothing to do with him, obviously. He's a beautiful man, sensitive lover, very clean, I'm sure very attractive, in great shape. I heard he didn't have a six-pack, he had an eight-pack.
Yeah, he's that guy in the 17th century.
What's wrong with her? Obviously a mental miasmas.
So he says that in 90 minutes, 15 ton of water was let fall upon her, which I worked this out. Your normal like a water efficient shower now is 9 litres per minute. This was 166 litres per minute. So it's an astonishing volume. You know, sometimes you go to a place and you have one of those showers that's like super high pressure and you go, whoa, this is off the charts, like just this torrent of water.
And I mean, that's one thing. If it's under one of those, what do you call it, waterfall showers, it's just falling over you and it's a huge nozzle and you sit there, luxuriating. But if it's coming through one of those water savers, it's like getting acupuncture.
Well, look,
it's horrifying.
Get rid of it.
And I assume the smaller hose that he was, aiming wherever he thought made sense. Gross as hell.
He was a turd. He was a horrible person.
Absolute turd, yeah, total torture.
And this is just torture, not any pretense at doing some sort of cure.
Yeah.
There were other people that were making devices which are still quite torturous, but they're actually thinking there is some sort of science here. This first one is called Morrison's douche bath. So this is like a sort of coffin that you sit people down in, and there's a little hole.
I'm already out. You can't put me in a coffin while I'm alive. That's just not on. That's off.
But then it's got this little tinkling little tap that sits above you, and you can, like, they could control the height of the device. They could move this thing up and down and put water in there. The different parts of an apparatus for giving the douche consist of a bucket from which a stream of water is made to fall on the head of the patient from different heights.
It looks really quite like alien technology as designed in 1910. Looks very War of the Worlds.
Yeah, a little bit. So, they'd strip the patient down, put them in the bath, and then sit them there for a while having water just tickling on their head.
Did I see that right? Did it look like once you put in there, they could put something over you so only your head stuck out?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
They're aiming for the head. The head's where the hot head is
So
the
you're
problem
trapped in
here.
there. You're trapped in there with your noggin sticking out, like a coffin with a head hole.
We got to keep people still. Like they can't go moving away from the stream of water, the stream of healing water on the head.
How will they get better? How will they want their husbands again?
There's another one called Dr. Benjamin Rush. He was in America. He made the tranquilizer chair where you'd
That's already what a good start. All right.
Look, the boundary between a lot of these and waterboarding is very, very, very small. Anyway, he'd strap a person into a chair, and there was this sort of box thing around their head. And I think it had holes at the bottom, and then they just pour water into it. So it's basically water.
That is fucking waterboarding. I mean, you might as well put rats in there as well and see what else you can do. That's just good.
Look at you, you barbarous. There's no science in that. You know, at least we've proven that you plunge people in water and they're cured. Like there's no rat cure.
You don't know that. Wait till I do my next episode. It's all about the rat cure.
But basically, you know, he'd strap a person in, put the box around their head, pour water over them, and he'd apply it for 15 to 20 minutes, and finally threatening the patient with death unless they repented or cured themselves. And it's like half of these things is just threatening people and
scared healthy.
torturing. Yeah.
Well, why not? Like, then you're really going to – I know a better way to do this. Hey, if you don't get better, we're going to put you in this device, and if that doesn't work, we're going to kill you. How are you feeling now? Way better, thanks.
It's wonderful. You're so nice. I love your treatment, doc.
I'm not crazy, and my husband's a hottie. Like, I love they go through it all first and then go, and it could get bad for you. Fucking monsters. They just wanted to do it.
Do you know, but they did. And you know what's weird? I mean, yes, there might have been people who thought this was, I think Van Helmont thought there was some sort of plunge of water, you know, did the thing. There's definitely a whole bunch of torturing, but there were also people that were like, oh no, this is great because it leaves no mark on the body, which is just exactly why the CIA were using it as well.
It's like, you don't go, you had surgery, but we don't want to leave any scars because that'll prove we've done it. Like, you're not ashamed of that.
No, you're not. You know what? It says something, doesn't it? It's like, oh, we don't want anyone to see that we did this. Yeah, it's not a treatment. It's not a treatment.
Nope. I'm thinking it's more of a hobby, and it ain't the person receiving its hobby. It could be. To be fair, there's something for everyone out there. Like maybe some people, that's how they felt healthier. Just
to put you back in the overall context, next time you're standing in the shower, look up. There is a history here.
Okay, I will look up next time I'm in the shower. But it's only Friday now, so that's going to be a week at least.
Well, I'll come to that. I'll come to that. A lot of the, let's call them psychiatrists, they're not qualified necessarily yet. They're starting to think architecturally. And so they would be building hospitals, asylums, things like that, where they would have a space, sort of 3 feet square, shower size sort of thing, left in the flooring of galleries, which was designed for a form of showering. Weirdly, they would have them open between multiple floors. So if it's like a 3-story hospital, it would go from one down to the next. So you could sort of accelerate the water if you thought, okay, this guy needs the full 35-foot treatment, whereas this is a mild case of anxiety, just a 10-footer or something like that.
Wow. So that would be a way, like in millennia hence, people will look through the rubble of our civilization. They'll go, well, there's a big hole running down the middle of this building. It's either an elevator shaft or a psychiatric institution.
Yeah, maybe
both.
So that's one thread. The idea that water had healing powers and that getting it onto the head was a healing thing. So more and more people, particularly in the psychiatric industry, were thinking in this way. Okay. Then you get two other developments. The first was, well, not necessarily the first because they sort of happened in parallel, was that people working in prisons, which were allied with the asylums, were starting to think, actually, showers are actually just useful for keeping people clean. Like it's weird. It's weird. It took people a while. They were like, prisoners are pretty gross.
Yeah. And what's that smell? All of them.
Like, I imagine getting all of your prisoners all into individual baths was probably really hard.
They probably didn't want that because of un-Jesus-like behaviours.
Or not enough rubber duckies or something like that. But showers, they could go in the showers and you as a prison guard could watch what they're doing and you could have kids.
Yeah, you could.
So you get like a prison in France was the first one where they thought, let's build some showers. We can pump water down on people. But there certainly were some scandals of prisoners dying through showers. So this picture, the Negro convict,
oh God,
being showered to death.
Oh my God.
So I think that was actually a protest picture, showing how barbaric such a thing was, and this was in a English prison.
So we're going to do sitting in a chair in a kind of apparatus that has a big, basically sort of fish tank arrangement strapped around from the neck up. It's all sealed, I assume. He's got like a funnel on top of that.
Yeah.
And a very just and righteous looking fellow on the outside controlling the hose. It's fucking barbaric. And also, again, if you want to kill people, like, get on with it.
Oh.
Don't pretend it's something else.
Yeah. But you can see, there is that little trend of there might be some people in this that are goodies, but there is definitely horrible people that are like, oh, this is a nice way.
The torture component, like
I could just hide this terrible thing that I want to do to people. Oh,
get a new hobby, like learn macrame.
But Rod, you're obviously thinking, listener, what the hell, man? You said this is the history of the shower, and you're just telling me about 19th century torture devices in insane asylums and prisons. How did this thing go domestic? The first domestic mechanical shower seems to have been a similar sort of time, but this guy he patented it because he made a machine that got the water to the top and down to the bottom. It
was painted as a washing device, or how to keep your teenagers in line?
No. This one was for washing.
Okay.
So it's sort of a box down the bottom. It's got four sort of bamboo-y poles. Actually, they were metal, but they were painted to look like bamboo. And up the top was a box, and you would pump the water from down the bottom. So it would collect all the water under you there. Then you give it a little pump, and up it goes to the top, and then you let it out, and the water would go over you again. So you'd pump a few times, and the same water would go over you.
Yummy.
It doesn't sound that pleasant, but it shows that the people were interested in the idea of having some sort of shower at home. Usually people would have this in the kitchen because it was closest to where you could get some warm water, which was seen as not the worst.
I get the logic, but yeah, having a shower where you're cooking your pasta.
Yeah, people were a little bit different back then.
Sure.
There was a similar thing called the English Regency shower, and some of them had portable versions where they might have a pump or they might not. And so they were an idea in the early 1800s that people would go, rather than having a bath, I would be a showering person. But it didn't catch on that quickly.
Look, I get it. I mean, I'm always suspicious of adults who prefer a bath for cleaning purposes, like for relaxation, I get.
Yeah.
But sitting in a bucket of water and rubbing all your dirt off.
It doesn't sound logical. It doesn't sound logical.
Look, I feel like some of it will get back on.
In the middle of the 19th century, it starts to take off as a bit of an idea that people would have a shower. Like that's a thing that people would do. One of the earliest seems to have been Charles Dickens. I know, right? He spent a summer on the Isle of Wight, which probably would have been quite nice. He was working on the novel David Copperfield at the time, and he rigged up a contraption on the beach to channel a waterfall into a perforated tub. So there's a waterfall there, and he's got like a pipe or something like that turns it into his own little shower. I assume he's gone for a swim and he's coming back and he's cleaning himself off, which, when you go for a swim on the beach and you rinse off the salt water, it's like, that's nice.
It is. It's pleasant. I mean, he could just stand under the waterfall, but, let's not get into detail.
Stop it, you hippie. No,
exactly.
You got to turn it into a rainfall thing.
Yeah, of course. You're right.
He loved the sensation so much that he had an expensive bathroom built in his house in London with both a tub and a separate cold shower. It became a positive necessity of life for me. And so he was sort of early on in the people that are like advocating, like showers are just awesome and we should all do them. There's a historian of the 19th century, Margaret Ogle. She reckons the sheer whimsy of showers, it became a bit of a fad. People were in a time were not constrained by municipal ordinances. So bathroom fixtures had not become standardized. They had all sorts of different things. They had showers that aimed only at the torso, showers that were powered by foot pedals. You could sort of crank them down the bottom. They had rental services where people would you don't call up, you send a letter or something like that, and you would rent a shower, and they'd turn up with a shower and towels and things like that
Really?
they'd turn up in your house. And yeah. And in fact, and I love this story, people would prank each other with it. I don't know if it's to say you're unclean or something like that. It's like, what? Shower service.
Huge bucks parties. We're going to get on the back of this covered wagon pulled by 3 stinking horses. We got a portable shower for you.
There were definitely people that were like, falling straight on the head is not great. So a couple of things they did there. They invented early shower caps, which were full on conical things, like
helmets.
Well, like as in a cone head, like as in full on a spike that goes in there, and that would get the water to not hit your head.
Well, it would.
And then
it would look awesome.
Because if you've got a good head, you don't want to make your head go wrong. Like that's for the insane people.
That's why my head's so big. It got beaten up by showers too much as a child, and it swelled and never came down. It's true. I should have worn my conical helmet.
There you go. They also had a whole bunch of showers that aimed at different parts of the body. Like that, there was one that was called a cage shower. Like it had like a few different pipes going around you, and that would sort of spray you from all sides, and just sort of you'd stand in the middle and get sprayed. Your head didn't get done or anything like that. I don't know if that was
both. I want the head as well. But what I'm after is the under shower. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, straight from the bottom.
The volcano, the eruptor.
The volcano.
How clean do you feel? Painfully, thank you.
I don't know if you want your bum juice getting up into your head juice though.
Bum juice in your head juice. We're going to have to talk anatomy in an episode about how the things connect.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that if the water is coming down from above, then all your face grime washes onto your bum and down to your feet. That's fine. Whereas if you're flooding from below, then your bum grime is getting pushed up
into your stomach, and then from there into your lungs, and then it comes out your eyes. I know. I understand that. I understand that concern. That's why you have a volume control. But I think an undershower sounds great.
Just to close off the sort of 19th century, just at the end of this, it started to become something that landlords would compete over. Not compete, but it became a way that would get people to move into your flats or whatever it is, to say that there is hot water and that there are showers. And so they would invest in that, and that would get returns in these people coming back.
Makes sense. I mean, that helps me now too. Whenever I rent a house, if it doesn't say there's hot water in a shower, I'm put off.
Believe me.
I feel disinclined.
Believe me. I don't think I would. I'd at least $10 less.
$10. What's it rent now? It's like $9 million a week in Canberra.
I think so. Something like that. Anyway, things really kicked off in the 20th century. It might have been new building techniques. It might have been middle-class people that wanted to look different from factory people. They wanted to look cleaner.
Imagine.
And it might have been advertising. In fact, it may well have been. Some people have argued Americans' obsession with showers was largely cultivated by the advertising industry, which capitalized on social anxieties about body odor and bad breath as more people began working together in closer quarters of factories and offices.
Okay. So it's fair to say many of America and other countries' obsessions are based on advertising. But anyway, in this instance.
Well, yes. I mean, America is just the example that we've got for this bit. Yeah. But it's almost like the production of social anxieties maybe drove what our culture became.
It might be worth some money.
I love it. I love this ad so much. It's for, I'm not sure if it's a needle shower, which is a similar sort of thing, but he's got one of these showers that's pointing direct. It doesn't go in his head. It's coming towards him. And the way that he is thrusting towards this thing, he's clearly getting cleaned right on the front from,
isn't he
from 4 jets that are coming directly towards him.
Look how proudly he's thrusting his chest, and I'm assuming other things forward into the wash.
Do you know, this is like a 1910 ad or something like that. And clearly he is getting joy out of getting blasted straight in the cock and balls.
He's getting manly, good postured joy. Because I mean, his elbows are back, his chin is slightly down, his chest is thrusting. That's how I shower. Or I will.
I don't know why I don't have that shower. That feels like that you will be more something if you have that shower.
I don't know why we don't have more of them around in general. Like, I know you can get wacky extra jets and stuff, but I'm surprised it's not more common.
It's weird. I think we've become more conservative. So early on, soap makers, so mostly they're selling soap for either for cleaning clothes and industrial uses. The Association of American Soap and Glycerine Producers established something called the Cleanliness Institute in 1927.
Of course.
The institute could promote keeping clean and, by extension, soap consumption. They went around giving storybooks in schools, posters, guides. Teachers were to write letters to parents about cleanliness. Mm-hmm. The institute reported on a school where students were given wash tickets after washing their hands. Only by presenting these tickets could they even enter the school cafeteria.
Maybe we need to do more kids' stories about vaccination and not voting for terrible humans.
I like being clean, but the idea that it was sold to us as a bill of goods.
Yeah, and look, now you're making me doubt everything about being clean. Maybe at the end of this, I'm just not going to bother anymore.
I'll come to that. We were asking about showers. So this is the famous shower of Lyndon Johnson, president after Kennedy. And apparently when he moved into the White House, he was like, one of the first things is, I want the shower like I've got at home. I want water charging out of multiple nozzles in every direction with needle-like intensity and hugely powerful force.
Yes.
We want special nozzles, front and back, one pointing at the dick and balls.
Yep.
And one pointing at the butt, like one from behind, one from in front. So you can never escape.
President. Was he the mad, angry dude who used to take meetings while he was having a dump?
Yes, he did.
Johnson?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
So he was a body positive kind of guy.
He was. He was also a hero of the civil rights movement. So weird,
Yeah. Clean and civil.
I do like to imagine this sort of weirdly uptight, cranky guy having this dandy old shower, washing his. Sadly, Nixon got rid of it straight away as soon as he moved into the White House. But you can go to the Lyndon Johnson Presidential Library. Where they've got a recreation of the presidential shower with the nozzles. I don't think you're allowed to use it, but I would like to.
Do you know where that one is?
I feel like it could be. He's Texas, but I don't know, sadly.
I want the biggest, most powerful shower in the world. I want to do my bung and my flagpole.
Do you know, I wouldn't mind the most powerful shower in the world. That sounds awesome to me.
No, I reckon they would actually give you piercings in places you don't want to be pierced.
Yeah, probably. As we've talked, it could be a torture device. But
I'll notch it down a level. Yeah, just one or two.
All right. What are showers like today? Who's your guess? The world's most frequent showerers?
The Lithuanians.
Nah, man. Nah. You got to go warmer. Like it's in fairness, it's likely to be a warm country thing.
Sumatra.
No, it's Brazil. According to the World Population Review, number one for shower. 99% take a shower every week, which isn't that much.
Yay.
But more importantly, the average is 14 showers a week. So the average is people taking 2 showers a day.
Okay. If you're hot and sweaty and you've been doing all that saucy dancing out on the beach and getting sand in your tootsies.
Yeah, sure. Australians are pretty high. 80% of men and 90% of women claim they have a shower every day. The world average is 5 times a week.
All right.
I don't have the worst for countries. I've got the worst for the least showered person.
Is that the least washed or the least showered?
Well, both.
Okay. That Indian sadhu who had the hair that was matted down 8 times the length of his body.
I think there are a bunch of sadhus who probably go for this. But this guy, just because of his age, he lived to 94 and hadn't had a shower in 60 years, hadn't washed at all. His neighbours finally convinced him to have a wash and he died soon after. But he was 94 and he smoked multiple cigarettes at the same time, which...
Also, it's probably his only thing keeping him alive was all the bacteria in the guns, man. His joints probably shattered.
But I want to go the other way. I don't have a world record because I don't know if that exists, but I did find some interesting stories of people who took a lot of showers. In the American Journal of Case Reports, a 26-year-old Caucasian male who presented with a 1-week history of severe colicky epigastric pain, so he's got stomach pain, heralded by significant nausea. He had vomiting and he admitted to smoking 4 joints or marijuana cigarettes every day for the last 2 years.
Naughty man.
He had 4 similar episodes the last month. During these admissions, he would take his nausea was relieved by taking hot showers, of which he took up to 15 times per day, sometimes for more than an hour. Seems like a lot.
But so if he was ripped all the time, though, I mean, a really hot, yummy shower when you're super stoned. I've heard an acquaintance that I only met ever once told me that's really quite pleasant.
So the first glimmer I saw is on Reddit someone saying, "Am I addicted to showering?" I always feel the need to take a shower. If I have a slight headache, I take a shower. If I feel sad, I take a shower. If I'm mad, I take a shower. I just always want to take a shower. My roommates are starting to point it out. Am I addicted to showering?
You got something going on, champ.
When you look at the information about how much people do shower and how much dermatologists reckon we should shower, maybe we might all be a little bit addicted to it and we might be doing it too much.
Dermatologists don't get into smell, right?
Look, this sucks to me. I love my shower. But there's a bunch of people, anyone that's looking at the microbiome on your skin is saying, we shower way too much. A lot of the recommendations from dermatologists now are like showering a couple of times a week is good. More than that is probably not necessary, particularly if you have a clean job and you're not getting terribly sweaty.
Well, we don't have that because our job is full of dirty, dirty thoughts.
Oh, probably. There's an assistant professor of dermatology at the University of Toronto. She reckons people are showering way too much and washing too intensely when they do. She's like, so when you're in the shower or the bath, do you need to wash your forearm? Even water alone, especially hot water, slowly strips away the oils in the outer layers of the skin that help preserve moisture. Their argument is, yes, there is definitely cleanliness and hygiene that should be followed, but most of your skin doesn't actually get bad. And what we're doing is stripping away a lot of these oils and a lot of this good bacteria that's causing problems. So there's a bunch of studies. So one was by San Diego dermatologist Richard Gallo. His team did two things. They covered a group of mice with a bacterium that's present on most human skin, and another group got a bath of a different strain of the same bacteria. So basically how much intensity of that bacteria is on the mice. They all put them out in the sun, got a suntan, and those coated with one type of the staph epidermis developed fewer skin cancers. So they're saying that the bacteria is serving a protective role. Another one, eczema patients, and they sprayed them with a particular bacteria that is found commonly on human skin, and they found that reduced a lot of the eczema. In fact, there's a bunch of people that are selling live bacteria for people to spray on their skin in an attempt to make them more.
Of course. I mean, we got fecal transplants. We got people starting to talk about eating tapeworms again for weight reduction. Why not live bacteria to smear on yourself? But this is why I reckon the army got it right. Like the Army Reserve, when I was in there 1,000 years ago, you just need an APC, mate. You just need an armpit's crotch.
Well, I think that's what a lot of people is arguing. So I read this guy, James Hamblin. He's a writer for The Atlantic, and he's an academic at the Yale School of Public Health. So he's legit, and he's telling the story of when he quit showering. In the course of this research, I started using less soap and less shampoo and less deodorant and showering less. I went from every day to every other day to every 3, and now I've pretty much stopped altogether. I still wash my hands all the time. He was writing this during the pandemic, so you got to be clear. I still wash my hands all the time to stop communicable diseases. I rinse off elsewhere when I'm visibly dirty, like after a run when I have to wash my gnats off my face. Gnats off my face? Yeah. I think
it's pronounced nads, but I'm hearing you.
Yeah. At first, I did smell bad, especially as I went without deodorant. Eventually, everything sort of settled in, he reckons, to a natural rhythm. You stop smelling bad and you become, I don't know, as nature intended. Now, this is a totally hippie argument, but there's a chunk where you go, No,
I got personal experience. So for many years, I never used shampoo. Like I'd rinse my hair and stuff, but I never shampooed my noggin. And my hair wasn't particularly oily. It didn't particularly smell like there was nothing. It was just when I started getting all carried away with product and stuff that I'd use it more. There was probably a couple of weeks where it was a bit mungy, a bit oily, but nothing terrible. And then it didn't seem to need it. Like the hair was fine, just getting rinsed under the too frequent showers.
Look.
So I have a small taste of that.
There is a whole strand of the hippie, the paleo sort of thinking that this is how we evolved and all some stuff like that. But on the other side, there is a whole strand of pseudoscience underpinning the fact that we need to have showers all the time. It comes from a really weird place, and then it's pushed by an advertising agency. I think that I love showers, but I'm starting to look a little bit differently. I'm thinking,
what are you going to do? Come on, say it here first.
No way, man. I can't quit my showers. I can't quit. I love them too much. They addicted me. Like they got me. The advertising industrial complex, they made me feel good in a shower, and that's all I want.
Yeah, I think it's just the sensation. Like I said, I mean, I don't have a bath to get clean. When I have a bath, it's just because baths are pleasant. And I mean, showers are often similar. There are times when you're kind of like, oh, I'm a bit cold, a bit weary, whatever. I'll have a little shower and it feels wonderful.
Yeah, there you go. So I think all of that feeling nice is probably good, but there probably are some negative consequences for your skin.
Yeah, I don't know, how far do you take it? I mean, it's a tricky one, as so many of these things are, because how far do you take this stuff, and what's it for? Like, if you're washing off some good stuff, but that's keeping away some bad stuff, and there's other things you do to make up for it, like getting your bacterial spray, like we're all going to do from now on.
Look, I think here's the lesson. Don't use your shower as a torture device.
Damn it.
Probably don't shower 15 times a day. There's probably a limit. And pay attention to soap. Just remember that soap is not always inherently positive.
I'm thinking now shower manufacturers have to, you've got on those, when you get a blind with a cord, it says, don't leave this dangling because kids will hang themselves. And the shower should have, don't use, not intended as torture device.
There you go.
Should
That'd
be
be
stuck
nice.
to the shower
but
fittings.
Intended as a device to, proudly get washed from the front like that.
Thrust into.
Oh my God, I could do that.
Oh, you totally would too, wouldn't you? You can imagine you stand there, wake up and you go, morning, and you're just getting thrusted. And you need to thrust it to sort of counteract the sheer weight of the water pressure. So, I mean, that's just reasonable.
I wouldn't mind one from the front, one from the back. You're just getting,
Did I?
properly cleaned.
I'm not at all against it. I mean, I wonder if it's kind of like the whole, that old toothpaste story that the only reason it tastes like medicine is because otherwise people don't believe we're properly clean. I wonder if showers are similar. Like,
maybe. Anyway, there you go.
Yeah, I like the modern shower more than the torturing device. Sorry, healing devices.